So last night it snowed here in Pennsylvania where I'm staying. So I thought I'd go to this really cool Pennsylvania hidden gem that I haven't seen probably in about 20 years. And I get here, no snow. Now, there is a little bit of really fine snowflakes dusting the leaves on the trail. So I do still have fingers crossed that when I get to this destination, it'll have a little bit of white on it, but I'm not holding my breath. Guess we'll see. So, another thing I'm going to do on today's video is a really cool Canon camera comparison that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. And that is the difference between the Canon EOS R, which is my main camera that I've been using for about a year and a half, compared to the little bit older but much higher resolution Canon 5 DSR. I was able to find one on eBay for less than a quarter of what it sold for when it was first announced a few years ago. So do the math, it's right around $900 and change, which is a really phenomenal find. So I'm very excited to have that in my bag on this little hike today. And I'm going to give it a quick comparison, see if it lives up to the ultra resolution hype. And who knows, if it's not what I thought it was going to be, I'll put it right back on eBay. But definitely looking forward to this one. Well, I made it. There she is. Rock. And there's no snow. Excellent. Yeah. Either way, it's got some good light on it, so I'm going to try to scale down this rock face and set up some shots. Alright, finally made it down to the bottom. Really liking the light on the rock today, so I'm going to set up the 5 DSR and start these comparisons. Alright, so I'm going to talk you through the composition I have set up. I've got the rock right in the center, kind of leaning towards the right and then coming back left, finishing on the top left third. I really wanted to get more of this tree up in the top right in because it kind of arcs over the whole scene and I really like that, but I'll show you what happens when I zoom out to 16. Right up in this top left corner, I'm catching a little bit of the tree just creeping into the frame, and I really don't like that, so I'm going to zoom in just ever so slightly. It's probably about 17 or 18 millimeters. Focus right in on the center of the rock. F8, ISO 100. Got the mirror lock up on, 2-second timer. Let's do a quick check. Manual focus, make sure that we're pin sharp. Zoom all the way in. Right about there. Looks perfect. 2-second timer. I really like that. Alright, so now what I'm going to try to do is not touch anything, just swap out this 5DSR body with my EOS R, same exact settings, everything, 2-second timer, f8, focus on the center, same settings on the lens, and we'll see which photo comes out better. Alright, finally all set up. Gonna wait for the light to come back just a little bit from behind this cloud so we get exactly the same light. Manually focus right in on the edge of the rock here. F8, ISO 100. Here comes the light. 2-second timer. Same exact scene. Let's see how they compare. Alright, so I finally made it back inside and got nice and warm. And I got to do a quick comparison of the images from the Canon 5DSR compared to the Canon EOS R. Alright, so I've got both images open in Lightroom with the Canon R photo on the left and the image from the 5DSR on the right. And my very first initial reaction is that I really like the way that the colors rendered in the 5DSR image. There's just something about it that I can't quite put my finger on, but the colors seem to have a bit of a richness to them and a much more gradual transition from shadow to highlights, where on the EOS R image there's a little bit more of an abruptness feel from the shadows to the highlights, and the total image also has a bit of a yellow tint. So I'm sure with some editing you could make these two color profiles look pretty much identical, though for the purposes of this comparison I think they should be close enough. So two of the areas that I really wanted to look at very closely when comparing these two camera bodies are 1, the sharpness, and 2, the dynamic range. So zooming into 100%, so this section is really good at comparing the detail between the Canon R image and the 5DSR image, especially when we look at areas like this very fine, small layered rock formation underneath. However, where I really see the biggest difference is up in this middle section. And granted, I did have to look pretty closely, but once I did see this area, it really shows the power of the 50 megapixels. In particular, this little bit of a crack in the rock face is almost completely invisible in the Canon R image. I also noticed this section with this zigzag crack in the rock face is much more well defined on the 5DSR image than on the Canon R. All things considered, the detail of both images is exceptional, but if you're looking to capture the most detail possible, the Canon 5DSR does outperform the Canon R. Alright, so moving on to the dynamic range comparison, I'll look at the 5DSR image only, comparing how the edited version of this photo compares to the raw image captured. Now, it was a really sunny morning, so I was exposing the photo for the brighter highlights of the background. I really wanted to maintain the color of the sky and the details in the clouds behind it. However, what that meant is that a lot of this shadowed rock face was pretty dark in the raw image. And when I went in and lifted these shadows, it really maintained a lot of the detail in the rock formation without introducing a ton of noise. So I was really happy to see that, especially because I've heard some of the rumors that the 5DSR's dynamic range really lags behind competing bodies from Nikon and Sony. However, in real-world testing, I really just didn't see a ton of noise. That being said, I didn't do any night photography or anything where I really pushed the sensor to extremes. As you can see over here, I've lifted roughly less than a stop and pushed the shadows up to plus 58. And generally, this is about as far as I'll go in editing. So for my purposes, this works exceptionally well. Alright, so I'll end the comparison with a few other images that I was able to capture with the 5DSR on this hike. Starting with this view looking down on the rock formation from the cliffs behind it, I really like how it stood isolated against the forest scene behind it, particularly the dark trunks of the trees, contrasting against the lighter background. Next, I wanted to see the level of detail that the 5DSR image sensor could capture, so I took a close-up photo of some leaves with the very light dusting of snow, and it really does render a lot of great detail, capturing the veins of the leaves and the different crystal formations of the snowflakes. Next, I'll move on to this balancing rock, which I thought could fall over at any second based on the way that it was perched up on the cliffside, which I really liked the way that it was leaning down, almost indicating it was about to fall down and roll through the forest below it. Nothing special about this image, I just really liked the way this view looked, and it really captures what it felt like to be standing there on that winter morning. And last, I'll finish with this image of a farm that I saw on the drive home, and I think the 5DSR really captured a ton of detail in parts of the barn, like the shutters and the wood siding. I'm really happy with how this one turned out, and I think it shows the full ability of this camera sensor. As always, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.